So I've been getting a lot of emails lately about the Judge Kavanaugh and Christine Ford debacle. If you're not aware of what's going on there, there's a Supreme Court Justice nominee, and a woman has come forward and accused him of raping her in high school. And so I'm getting a lot of questions about that, including the Me Too movement. And I thought, you know what? Why don't I go ahead and make a video and address it? So that's what we're talking about today. Stay tuned. Hey, it's Melody Fletcher, and I've been getting so many questions lately about the Judge Kavanaugh and Christine Ford situation, and everything that's bringing up in our society as a whole, because this issue is coming up more and more in more and more places, along with the hashtag Me Too movement. And I received a question the other day, one of many, from Awesome Natasha, who says, regarding this situation, I feel really triggered for some reason. Very powerless and sad about the fact that a man's career is considered more important than a woman's safety and right to not be sexually assaulted. I guess I feel like it's pretty obvious that he's lying, and it feels sickening that his life is more valuable than hers. It makes me wonder what year this is. Okay, so a lot of people, not just women, are feeling this way at the moment, but a lot of women are absolutely feeling this way because what's coming up is this very old, I want to even say ancient, powerlessness that we women have within us. Now, men have their own powerlessnesses. Don't worry about it. Yeah, but this is one that we definitely carry around with us. And this is not the victim blaming thing. People always accuse us LOAers of victim blaming. This is not victim blaming. I'm not blaming the victim. I think, men assaulting women sexually is atrocious. And it's happened to me in my life. And I've had to, clear the powerlessness there as well. But we do have to always take responsibility for our own vibration so that we can heal these things, because for lots of, for hundreds of years, we've been trying to say the men need to change, the men need to change. And yes, there will be changes in the men. But when you understand this work, you have to take responsibility first and say, okay, what within me needs to heal? Not what within me is my fault, but what within me needs to heal. And as, Awesome Natasha has demonstrated in her question, she is trying to do that work. She's reaching out to somebody like me and saying, what is it within me that's causing me to get triggered? What is it within me that I can heal? And so there's all this powerlessness coming up, and with it comes anger and rage. Yeah, how dare they? How dare they say that our lives aren't valuable? How dare they say that a man's life is more valuable than ours? How dare they say a man's career is more valuable than a woman's career? And all those, how dare they sexually assault us? How dare they not believe us? How dare they, And so I wanted to explain a couple of things. So first of all, well done, Awesome Natasha, for starting to take responsibility for yourself, for your own vibration, and working through that, because that's where we always have to start. Yeah. Second of all, now, while we don't actually know what happened, you say it's obvious that he's lying. We each have our own opinion. I have my own opinion. I can read the energy, and so I might tell you my opinion, but, but really, we weren't there. Yeah, we weren't there. And so how do we really know what happened? And so let's not start with the premise of this is definitely true or this is definitely false, which is where people on both sides are. He's definitely lying. She's definitely lying. Let's start from a premise of saying all of us having this discussion right now have no frickin' idea what actually happened. We have to go off of what we're seeing and the reactions that we're seeing. Yeah. And so if you take that out of it, that you get to judge whether or not it happened, or that you even have to judge whether or not it happened, just remove that and stick with where you are right now. And what we have here is a situation where a professional woman has come forward after many, many years and said, this happened to me. This man assaulted me. And then we can see his reaction off of that, right? And I actually had to go look up the transcripts because when I first got a question from somebody about this, I had no idea what they were talking about. This hadn't even hit my radar. But I went and looked at some of the transcripts, and, what we can see from the reactions made me happy. And I know that you're sitting there right now going, what? Are you a sociopath? Nope. Let me explain why it made me happy. I'm not happy about the fact that women still have a long way to go, and that women are still routinely not believed, and that, coming forward with an accusation of sexual assault can ruin the woman's life. Now it's starting to ruin some men's lives too, but mostly it's just going to ruin the woman's life. But what I'm happy about is the changes I'm seeing, because I'm not delusional. I know how bad it used to be. And I can tell you from personal experience, if you're looking at it, over the course of my lifetime, and if you're 20 years old, maybe you haven't seen that much yet, but over the course of my lifetime, which isn't that long, I've seen tremendous change in this issue. Those of us who are old enough to remember this whole thing already having gone down with Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill, if you remember back to that, the entire thing was a total shit show. I mean, everybody just shit on Anita. That's basically what it was. She was a professional woman coming forward with claims, and she was laughed out of there. She wasn't even given any credibility. The media tore her apart. This is a little different. It's not that much long, it's not that much time has passed, but this is very, very different. So we had, senators telling, Christine Ford that, she was absolutely not on trial, and they kept reminding each other this was not a trial of Christine Ford. This was a job interview for Judge Kavanaugh. And they, the public did not respond with an automatic, overwhelming, oh my God, the bitch. I can't believe that she would say this. She's obviously lying. So the response may have not been overwhelmingly, oh my God, this guy is a horrible dude. It was mixed. But the fact that it isn't all one-sided in the negative anymore, or in the unwanted for, people who believe Christine Ford, is a really good sign. Right? That women are more believed. And we can always look at it and go, well, we're not believed 100%. Okay, but we're more believed than we ever have been. There's more credence. And so I want to also explain something that I think a lot of people don't know. And that is, because I have great compassion for both sides. I have great compassion for all the men that are out there right now who are really confused by what's going on, who are getting really angry, who have their own powerlessness to deal with. Like I said, they have theirs too. And it's because, here's the thing, everybody only really understands their own experience and their own perspective. And the majority of men out there, the great majority of men out there, the silent majority, the ones that you barely ever hear from, they're good guys. They're not creeps. They're good guys. And this is why it's so hard for them to understand what is happening with women right now and why they're freaking out so much. Because they've never seen this behavior. They've never witnessed this behavior. It wouldn't occur to any one of them to sexually assault a woman, to force a woman into a situation that clearly makes her incredibly uncomfortable, or even to force her to have sex or to rape her. This doesn't occur to these kinds of men. And so that's not where their thoughts are. And they have a hard time believing that anybody who seemed like them, that they can identify with, would do something like that, because they would not do something like that. And so they think that we're accusing all these men of doing things that they didn't do and that they didn't know were wrong. And, so they're thinking, well, in the 80s, sometime I told some woman that her hair looked nice, and is she going to come back and now cry, sexual assault? That's not what we're talking about, guys. That is not what we're talking about. These guys actually committed sexual assault, and they knew it was wrong. Oh, go fuck yourself if you think, oh, I didn't know that whipping out my penis in a business meeting was wrong. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So we're talking about real creepy dudes here. We're not talking about the majority of men. We're talking about real creepy dudes. And yes, they did do that. But here's the thing. They seem normal. They seem nice. They seem professional to everyone, including the woman that was assaulted. And I cannot tell you how many women, if not all of them, have sat there after having something happen to them and thought, at least partially, maybe this was my fault, because it was so hard to believe that this seemingly upstanding citizen, seemingly nice guy, that everybody else thinks is a nice guy too, that you thought was a nice guy, could do something so horrific. And it takes us a long time to overcome that feeling of, maybe I provoked it somehow. Maybe it's my fault, because he doesn't seem like that kind of person. If it's some evil guy that that looks like a predator and that takes you in a, that grabs you in the park, that's something different. But most sexual assaults actually happen by people that we know. And so what happens is that we have such a hard time believing that somebody who seems that nice could possibly do that to us, that we actually question sometimes our own sanity. Yeah. And so I totally understand why people who didn't even witness that and have never witnessed it, have never experienced it. If a woman who's been subject to sexual assault most of her life can hardly believe it, then how can we expect somebody who's never even witnessed that sort of thing even goes on? Yeah. And so it's not that these nice guys, these good guys, are being assholes by not instantly believing us. It's that we're asking them to make a big paradigm change, yeah, where they understand that the world does not work the way that it did, and that their friend might actually be a predator and knows full well what he's doing. This is not a case of mistaken identity. This is not a case of saying something wrong at the wrong time and then it coming back to haunt you 40 years later because you told somebody she looked nice, or because you asked somebody out at work and now she's like, rape! Yeah, that's not what we're talking about here. Yeah, what we're talking about is real sexual assault that actually happened, and happens much more often than people think it does. Yeah, you would be shocked if you saw some of the clients that I deal with and how often I have to deal with healing sexual assault in children. Childhood sexual assault, ritualistic sexual assault. You wouldn't believe how much of that I see in my practice. Yeah, and the reason I do is because this is pretty rampant. Now, that doesn't mean I want to scare anybody and say like, oh, rapists are everywhere. No, they're not. But let's just wrap our head around the fact that there is more of that going on than maybe you thought. And let's open up our minds to the idea that, these women predominantly are telling the truth. And how do I know these women are predominantly telling the truth? Well, first of all, I can read their energy. And second of all, I can tell you with no reading energy, just logic, that to come forward and to make an accusation like that can still, to this day, and certainly up until a couple of years ago, pretty much guaranteed was going to ruin the woman's life. Ruin her life. Yeah? I mean, look at what happened to poor Monica Lewinsky. That wasn't even sexual assault. That was just something we considered inappropriate. And when we can all agree that if you're going to judge the situation as inappropriate, wouldn't it be on the guy who was married and her boss who took advantage of the situation? No, we destroyed her life, right? Because she's the woman. So that was not that long ago. Yeah. So let's just think about this for a minute, how even an intelligent professional woman who has options, who has access to a lawyer, might really hesitate to come forward and make such an accusation, because you know what? She may just be adding insult to injury. She just wants it over with. She just wants it to go away. She wants to get on with her life. She wants to heal from it. And putting yourself through this kind of process, even as Christine Ford years later is discovering, is brutal. Even in today's time. What year are we in? We're in 2018. It is better than it has ever been. It is nowhere near where we want it to be, but it is better than it has ever been. And that's the point that makes me happy, because men are waking up and struggling with this situation. Yeah, women are waking up. The hashtag Me Too movement is all about rage and anger coming out and women standing up and saying no more. No more. Raising awareness of the fact that this happens, and this happens to a lot of us. Yeah, and I was one of the people who put my hand up with hashtag Me Too. Yeah, absolutely has happened to me. Happened to me several times in my life. Not recently, but it has happened. Yeah. And these were things that I could shift within myself. These were things that I could heal within myself. So now I don't attract sexual predators anymore. I did, even in childhood. Yeah, but I no longer do. And so that's that taking responsibility. And I know what that looks like. And this is the beginning of what that really looks like, of stepping into the empowerment. This is what it looks like. People get mad. People stand up. People aren't going to take it anymore. And what I'm watching for is the crowd's reaction, the overall reaction, and watching for that to move into a different direction. And I absolutely see that. Is it where we want it to be? No. And we can acknowledge that while also acknowledging and celebrating how far we have come, and that the tide is turning, that things are getting better. Now, that doesn't mean we should let up. Let's keep raising awareness. Let's keep getting mad. Let's keep shouting it out. Let's keep healing. Let's keep working on ourselves. Yeah, let's keep acknowledging what we don't want and looking what we do want instead. And what we want instead, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, is not to put men in their place and rule above them. What we want is balance. Yeah? We've had the extremes. Let's have balance where men and women can just be with each other and as human beings, where we can partner up, we can work together, we can be friends together, we can be friends without having to have sex. Oh my God, that's a whole different video. Yeah? We can be comfortable with each other, where we're not fighting each other, where it's not us against them, where we have compassion for each other. And that means that we women have to have compassion for the men too. And I know that's going to rile a lot of feathers because you're thinking, oh, we've had compassion for them for years. What is it going to be our turn? Yeah. Just compassion for the idea that this may be a bigger pill for them to swallow because it's been a pretty big pill for us to swallow. Took us a lot of years to fully understand that it's not our fault. They still have to go through some of that. It's not going to take them as long, but they still have to go through some of that. And you have to understand that men, good guy men, have not been witnessing this. They have not been witnessing this and shutting their eyes to it. Now, as they start to wake up, they may realize that they have been witnessing some of it on the periphery and they just didn't understand what they were seeing. And now they're getting it more. Oh my God, that guy was a creep. I didn't even realize. Yeah. But it's a big realization to have about people that you maybe really care about or think are really nice or even look up to. Yeah. And so see how many times, you know, how many women had to come forward about Cosby before the sort of collective consciousness went, oh God, I think he actually did all that stuff. Yeah. It's so hard to believe when somebody seems nice and normal. Yeah, it's really hard to believe. So I told you I'm going to give you my opinion on the Kavanaugh Ford situation. Yeah, he's lying. I'm gonna keep it real clean now, but he's lying. He's lying. That's really apparent. He's caught out. And the thing that I'm looking at is this is somebody who's up to be a judge, to be a Supreme Court justice, which is, you know, in arguably the most trusted position in the entire country. And he can't take responsibility. He went right back into high school energy and go, nah, I didn't do it. Nah, brah, I didn't do it. That's what I was reading off of him. And so I would have liked to see somebody who's up for that kind of job interview, for that kind of position, take more responsibility and say, you know what? Yes, this happened. And here's what happened. And I feel deeply ashamed. And I think that we need to raise more awareness about this. And would it have maybe ended his Supreme Court justice, you know, shot for that position? Maybe, but I would have had a great deal more respect for him if he did that. If he just took responsibility, not in a I didn't know it was wrong kind of way, but like I didn't really understand the repercussions of what I was doing. And I didn't fully understand what I was doing, because that's actually the truth. Yeah. Because people who do that, especially, you know, when they're drinking and they're young, they don't fully understand what they're doing. That is not to let them off the hook. Yeah, not letting anybody off the hook here, but it's just saying, let's bring some light to every piece of this conversation and let's start taking responsibility. So if you've done something wrong in the past, you know what, own it and move on from it. Allow yourself to heal from it by owning it. Yeah, and understand that you may have played into that energy unwittingly, unknowingly, or only half knowingly. Yeah. But I do not for a second accept that an adult male in his 40s who is whipping his penis out in boardrooms or touching women's body parts or pressuring them for sex doesn't have an inkling that that's wrong. I'm sorry, you fucking do. Yeah. All right. So there was my slight soapbox video about the Me Too movement and the Judge Kavanaugh, Christine Ford situation. Hopefully it was able to give you some relief or some things to think about. If you want to get on your own soapbox, go ahead and do it in the comments, always respectfully. Otherwise, we do remove your comments. Yeah, no trolls allowed. But if you want to add respectfully to this conversation, then I absolutely welcome that. Until next week, I'm Melody Fletcher, and I'm sending you huge, happy, shiny puppy hugs, as well as I want to thank you for bringing your light to this world. Bye.